What's going on, guys? Fantasy Football Pod is back. The UHHH7 Fantasy Football Pod with a different look today. We're just we're in me and Nathan's dorm. So, um, Nathan and Austin we're pretty busy this week. It is a Friday when I'm recording this. Um, People are busy, right? So it's just me for this week and probably a shorter episode, but you guys will get some content nonetheless. Yeah, let's look back. Let's start this off by looking back at last week. A lot of stuff to wrap up, a lot of stuff to go over. And I think I'm just going to start with my matchup because for me that was just the biggest weird matchup. I scored 125 points versus Clint Flickers Smays. You only put up 105. I don't really know. That's like one of those games where I really don't know how I won, and do I think I should have won? No. And complete and total honesty, Smays, your team is so much better than mine. You're projected so many more fantasy points. It's not even funny. But it just came down to the fact that you had a bunch of guys that just didn't perform. Like Amon Ra had like 8.2 fantasy points or something like that, and he scored a touchdown. Let's see here. What else do I got? Yeah. So for me, James Cook cooked. My team name. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of that. I have something. James Cook cooked. Baker, even if he throws a bunch of picks, just seems to get great fantasy output. And Mark Andrews seems to be kind of back. Last 3 weeks, he's had 15.6, 20.1, and 14.6. Might not be back due to Deontay Johnson being traded to the Ravens, which we'll get into just a little bit later. And, I'll talk about, maybe some repercussions that, something that could be affected by that trade. But Smays, you lost. It really just came down to the fact that your team kind of sucked. Who else did you have bad weeks from? Bad week from Devontae Adams. So your wide receivers 1 and 2 just didn't show up, and you didn't start Alvin Kamara, which I guess you had the matchup that you wanted with Javonte Williams against the Panthers, and Najee Harris did fine, but that's a ballsy play right there. I can't lie. You definitely don't win if you start him over anybody, but you make it closer, and I don't know, maybe if you started Zay Flowers too. See, but no, that just doesn't make sense. Sean, I beat you somehow. Thank God. I really needed that, or else I was for sure losing. Oh, and to anyone who's watching this, after some conversing with people here, like Nathan and Austin, Nathan in particular wasn't necessarily sure that we had any kind of punishment for the loser. I threw out that L necklace idea a little bit ago, but Nathan was just bringing up the fact that if we don't have a punishment before the season, should we even try to enforce it? I don't know. I'm trying to start a dialogue because I don't think people are gonna do a punishment this year because we didn't have one beforehand. That's besides the point, though. Next matchup, I've got ... DND, Mr. Garrett Martini, outscoring Niners QB room by 3 points in a close matchup. Mr. Garrett, you somehow come away with a win here. Sean, your team's been on a roll, but Garrett is going to stop that this week. Sean, you had a big performance from Jaden Daniels, and your running back core continues to supply most of the offense. I feel like, at least the most consistently, right? which is still good for you, but it wasn't enough for Garrett, who just had massive weeks from Terry, Kyron Williams, and Joshy Josh. Kyron Williams, man, I think he is just a sure thing to get into the end zone. Garrett, let me applaud you again for taking Kyron Williams. I think anyone can look back on on draft night and just say, why didn't I draft Kyron Williams? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Really big week from you, Garrett. You guys actually kind of both had crappy-ish weeks, like 110 to 113. That's not a great week from anybody, but Garrett, you definitely want to win those ones, considering the state of your team right now. So let's get into our next matchup. We got Free Zookles scoring 150.9 fantasy points, beating Sheree Auto Drafts Rollout, who only had about 119. Sheree, Stephon Diggs is out for the season. He tore his ACL. That sucks. You've kind of been trending upwards, but that really takes it out. Everyone's dealt with some injury problems. I remember for a few weeks you were kind of getting screwed by Ramondre Stevenson like every other week. But this one sucks. Really puts a dent in your lineup. Unfortunately, we've all been there this season, though. Sorry again, guys. Your team still is looking up, I believe, though. Stephon Diggs goes out, but you managed to get Kareem Hunt. I think on the waivers a couple weeks ago, he's come in and then done great. Michael Pittman, if Joe Flacco is the quarterback, could trend upwards. Having Anthony Richardson play really isn't that good. But the bright spot for you is going to be David Njoku with Jameis Winston. Obviously, Cedric Tillman had a great week. I think there was another Browns receiver that had a good week. But David Njoku, the tight end position is not certain for anyone. And, last week was National Tight Ends Day. So I'm sure tight ends were schemed into a lot of games. But still, I think David Njoku will have such an important part of that offense. And with Jameis Winston, who can throw, over 300 yards every week, probably, I would feel good about that. I love my cat here. Anyways. Yeah, sorry, Sheree, you lost. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Ramey, I forget if I had you winning or not. I forget if our curse continues, or my curse. Actually, let me look. Oh, wait, did we pick for this week? No, we didn't. We didn't even do an episode last week. It's getting bad, guys. Sorry. The podcast is really falling downhill. We'll have good episodes after this one, okay? Yeah, Ramey, Brock Purdy went insane for you, so that's huge. And again, the running back core for you, Ramey, when Josh Jacobs is able to score over 20 fantasy points, and then you still have Saquon and DeAndre Swift, it's an extremely deep team, and you even have a great handcuff for DeAndre Swift in case he goes down. You got his backup, so looking like a team that could play through a possible injury or something, right? So Ramey, good job. Another massive week. Only 4-4 though. Somehow, that should change after next week. You're playing me, and I'm not very confident. But anyways, let's get to our matchup of the week. This was insane. Vegas Gamblers, Aiden Kerr, you won by 12 against Marvin's Room, Austin Townley. Still an insane performance. Austin, 1 o'clock went great for you. You had a lot of good production at 1 o'clock, I believe. Cade Otton was part of that. And then it was also like Jonathan Taylor. I think Kirk Cousins as well. And then 4 o'clock was bad, and the tides turned. I think going into like 4:25, I think Aiden Kerr had like less than 20% chance to win. He had Kelsey and CD left, and CD put up 39.6. Really good week from him. And Travis Kelsey put up 25. And then AJK, you're continuing to get some fantasy production from Bucky Irving, so congrats there. And Darnell Mooney with a good spot start as well. So, good week for your bench to step up with DK Metcalf not playing. And, that's exactly what you want to see. It couldn't have happened at a more perfect time, in all honesty. With DK being out and you have to start some backups. This is a game or a matchup that Austin should win, but he didn't. Even though he got a lot of help, T Higgins, did he not play? Yes, he did not play. T Higgins could have helped you out a lot if he was playing, but he was hurt. So AJK, congrats on that one. That was a really big win. Next, we've got Easy Pickens beating Pray For Me, Nate Caminoli, by 3, 119 to 116. Another win for George here, 5-3. Lamar helps score a lot of your points, George. Having that quarterback production is going to be, top on your list. You want that for sure if you're going to draft someone like Lamar, and he's giving it to you. So getting exactly what you're looking for right there. Kind of had a down week from Kenneth Walker, but it was picked up from Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson having solid weeks. And, it helps that Kincaid, I believe, caught a touchdown. Yes, he did. Caught a touchdown. So, kind of a clutch performance from your guys, George. Even though no one had a great week, I'm pretty sure they just kind of all scored around where they were projected. So, and then Nate, Jalen Hurts played really well. And Joe Mixon. Unfortunately, you can't count on two guys to win you a week in fantasy. Drake London, bad week. Amari Cooper, terrible week. Jordan Mason, terrible week. You've really got a boom or bust team, Mr. Nate. I remember, if I'm thinking correctly, even last week you had 2 goose eggs. I think it was Cortland Sutton and Tank Dell. So I don't know what's going on there, but I guess if you started Cortland Sutton over Amari Cooper, you would have won. But to be completely fair, I would not be able to bring myself to do that after Amari Cooper had such a good first week as a Bill. That game just turned into a blowout. And Keon Coleman got the looks early and not Amari Cooper. So, he's still getting integrated into that offense. I think he'll still be good for you. I mean, if that first week says anything, it says that he absolutely can have a big role, but not that week. Sorry. And then the last matchup. We got Reeds in the Wind versus the Process. Nathan Donnelly getting it done. He got a lot of help. He scores 144 with a loaded IR. Nico Collins and Christian McCaffrey on IR. Sorry again, guys. Take care of yourselves. Actually, we're gonna pop some vitamin C on the show today. Nate, you just continue to get it from guys that really aren't supposed to give it to you. Like Calvin Ridley scored 22.6 fantasy points. You can't count on that, but good for you. Remember, Calvin Ridley had a week. 8 targets, 0 catches. That was the exact opposite this week. Let me just check real quick. He reeled in 10 catches out of his 15 targets. 15 targets for 143 yards. Ridiculous. That wasn't a blowout, though, so they're probably throwing the ball the entire time. Trey McBride with a massive week, and I want to talk about the two most important players here, is Bo Nix and Devon Achane. Achane, with Tua back, sky's the limit. And first game back, we were reminded of it. I'm sure you had a lot of people offering trades for Devon Achane. Someone that you just had to stick with while Tua was out. And I'm sure you're really glad you did, because he's someone who's just going to be projected 18 to 20 points from here on out, and as a running back. And when and if CMC comes back, you've just got such a good running back core with Brian Robinson Jr. as well. However, he is prone to some bad weeks here and there as well. Bo Nix, though, 30 points against Carolina, yes. But maybe the fantasy output is there. Bo Nix, I have no other words. Good for him. And then the process, Mr. Aiden Good. I'm sorry you lost. I really don't have much to say besides I do want to touch on Kyle Pitts, who had a really good week, 25 points off of some chunk plays. Just so everyone knows, Kyle Pitts is averaging 16.1-ish points in his last 4 weeks. The 25 helps bring that up a little bit, but if you consider how bad tight ends have been, Kyle Pitts has been really, really, really good. So I know I might call up Aiden Good and ask about Kyle Pitts. This is a very buy high time right now, but it's worth a call. I think I might ask, because my tight end position is not certain. As that brings us into our next talking point here. We've got Deontay Johnson being traded to Baltimore. So he gets taken out of this position where he was pretty much guaranteed a solid 12-ish at least, right? That was kind of maybe 10 points his floor in Carolina. And he had a lot of good fantasy success, actually. He's had some good 20-plus point weeks with Andy Dalton at the helm. He's really succeeded. But now he's on Baltimore. Baltimore, that's a trade that I'm sure they needed. I think they do want to boost their offense a little bit, but actually, I lied. Now that I'm looking at Deontay Johnson's fantasy production, he has an extremely low floor. So maybe I can cut that out, but 4 points some weeks, but he can also go off for 20. He's had 4 weeks below 5 points or 6 points, and he's had 3 weeks above 20. So that sucks. And he gets to play Denver twice. So going up against Denver, Carolina was in week 8, and then week 9, Baltimore plays Denver. So good for Deontay Johnson, or actually terrible for Deontay Johnson. And then that's going to have effects on Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews as well, which is why I was thinking about calling up Aiden Good for Kyle Pitts. Mark Andrews has certainly not had a guaranteed success rate to start the season in Baltimore. Recently, he's been finding the end zone a lot, which is helping him out. But I can't imagine that Deontay Johnson's going to help with that. He's caught a good amount of touchdowns for the Panthers so far this year. So I think you would have loved to see Deontay Johnson be traded to a better team. If you see he's going to Baltimore, you might think, it's a good team. He has a chance to succeed. He would have to outshine Zay Flowers. And Zay Flowers already has a certain role on that offense. He likes to catch a lot of those outside, screen passes or short plays. Great after the catch. And he also runs a lot of their deep routes as well. Lamar looks down the field. But Deontay Johnson, I imagine, would be running a lot of those similar routes. I don't know if he's going to catch a lot near the line of scrimmage. I honestly don't watch a lot of Deontay Johnson or Panthers games at all. I try to refrain from doing that. But, yeah, would have loved a better landing spot for Deontay Johnson in fantasy, but did not get it. And I also wanted to touch on Thursday night football happened last night. What a crazy game. Jets come out with the win, but the real story is Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams. Maybe this is a preview of what is actually to come. I planned on recording this episode last night before or while football was going on. I would have just thrown it on the TV in the background, which actually that would be fun. Hey, if you guys want us to record during like Thursday night football and have the game on in the background, we could have some live reactions. Let us know. Do you want us to do that? Yes, no, maybe so. Yeah. If you see this part of the video, let me know. Sorry. But first 2 weeks in New York, Davante Adams 6 points and 9.3 points. Garrett Wilson, first 2 weeks with Davante there, 13.1, 16.3. That was a point that I was going to bring up for sure, is that Davante Adams is going to play second fiddle, and that, Garrett Wilson will probably still eat, but, I'm not sure if he can go off for 20 as often as he usually does. Just for me to be absolutely proven wrong last night, yes, Garrett Wilson is still number one. Absolutely. I think that's a big takeaway, is that this Jets offense was sputtering in the first half, first quarter, second quarter, when they kind of looked to force feed Davante the ball. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers had a throw down the sideline that he definitely could have caught, and I think he would have had like 25 fantasy points or so. But once they started looking for Garrett Wilson and got him the ball, the Jets offense was absolutely rolling. Garrett Wilson finishes the night with 30 fantasy points. Davante Adams has a big touchdown grab that saves his week. I mean, I think he had a decent amount of fantasy points before then, but I think that would have been, was that like a 30-yard touchdown? I'm just trying to go off memory. I don't have this in front of me, but salvages his week with a touchdown. He finishes with 22.1 fantasy points. This is bad. Anyways, he finishes with 22.1. Both guys can eat on this offense. This is what we thought it would be for the first few weeks, but you can't underestimate how long it does take to get put into this Jets offense. It's an NFL offense, so a lot of work that they have to do to hash those things out. So I did want to talk about a couple weeks ago, George and Aiden Kerr had a trade in which the two major pieces were Lamar and Garrett Wilson.
Bruh.
Oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. This is so bad. And then he traded CD and like James Conner among some other people, if I'm getting that correct. Yeah, here it is. Easy pickings. You traded Kyler Murray, J.K. Dobbins, and CD Lamb for James Conner, Lamar Jackson, and Garrett Wilson. If Lamar is going to continue to produce, I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted. But Garrett Wilson being better after the Davante Adams trade is definitely not something that Aiden Kerr imagined. Obviously, CD had a great week the week prior. But Garrett Wilson, I assume, unless CD has another great week, outscores him this week. So maybe a little bit more fair than we thought, if Garrett Wilson can continue to produce. So now I'm going to do some quick picks. I really wasn't sure what else to do for this episode. It is just me. I was going to make it a pretty quick one. So I think I'm just going to wrap it up with some quick picks. And there's not much else to add. So, first matchup, Free Zookles versus Let James Cook. Mr. Ramey, I'm taking you, obviously. This is the biggest projected blowout matchup this week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm projected the lowest in the league, 107.6. Man, I'm projected to lose by 23, 23 points. It That's really hard to overcome. Rami, I'm taking you not even to try to like have me win, but I want to improve my record on quick picks. Oh, that does bring up a good point, guys. Listen to our records for quick picks. Nathan, he's only done 1 week. He's 4-2. Nathan's a good picker. He usually picks who wins. Now myself, I had one bad week, one good week. I'm 6-6. You can believe me about 50% of the time. Austin though is 4-8. You generally can just not believe who he picks. Is what I'm coming to a consensus of. But anyways, let's get into next matchups. I mean, Rami, you're gonna win against me. Biggest margin in the league. Yes. That brings me to Clint Flickers versus Niners QB room. Sean, I did have you winning already last night when I was prepared to do this episode, and Devontae Adams had 22, so that's great. He outperforms his projection by almost 9 points exactly. So good for you there. I still am going to have you winning. I think Stevie, I think you were projected to win initially. Maybe. Actually, it's hard to tell now. Initially, you guys were deadlocked at 126. Sorry, my bad. This might be the matchup of the week. Niners QB room, Clint Flickers. Sean, you're 3-5. I'm really sorry. I am genuinely sorry. That shouldn't stay for too long. But I've got Sean winning this one. Sorry, Clint Flickers winning this one. However, Stevie is prone to go off when he plays Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Jaden Daniels. They all can go for 30 plus. So you never know what's going to happen there. Next, Marvin's Room versus Auto Drafts Rollout. I'm going to be taking Marvin's Room in this one. Pretty self-explanatory, I think, with Cooper Kupp back, Maserati Marv, and T. Higgins. That's a really good receiving core. T. Higgins at the flex is always a flex. Don't get sick. T. Higgins at the flex is always a flex. And then Maserati Marv last week against a Dolphins defense that has been the best against wide receivers in fantasy and allowing wide receivers fantasy points. He went up and I think he had 20, if I'm not mistaken, 23.1 last week. So he's someone who I look to outperform his projection every single time. Projected 13 points against the Bears. Good defense, great defense. But when you have someone like Marv who's prone for a big play every single time, he can outperform that. However, Sheree, things aren't looking terrible for you. Olave is actually projected points this week against the Panthers, who suck. And Kareem Hunt has a great matchup against Tampa Bay, whose defense sucks. Bijan Robinson, great matchup. Dallas defense sucks. Okay, so you have a lot of room here where maybe if Austin, your team doesn't boom, and Sheree's team just plays up to their projections, where Sheree's team can definitely take that one. Next, got Easy Pickens and Vegas Gamblers. I'm going to be honest. I picked Vegas Gamblers before last night. It doesn't help that Garrett Wilson had 30. But Aiden, I have you winning. George, I was fully ready to pick you until I noticed that Xavier Legette is your starting wide receiver. I guess he should be your flex. But I don't have any confidence in Xavier Legette to do anything. But I hope you prove me wrong. I really do. He he had 13 fantasy points last week with a touchdown. So take that away. It's been bad. 2 points the week before, and then 11 with a touchdown. So almost 5, and then 1 before that. So he's actually only had 1 good week in fantasy, and that was week 4 against Cincinnati, where he scored 20 with a touchdown. Other than that, he's been really, really bad. So, George, if you get dud Xavier Legette, then maybe that can let Vegas gamblers back into this one. But this is a heavyweight bout, both 5-3 teams. I've got Aiden Kerr. Next, we got Pray For Me versus The Process. I took The Process again before last night. Tank Dell played wonderfully against a good Jets defense, something that I would not have predicted. If I was a gambling man, I would have said Tank Dell not do anything last night. He was very much so involved in a really big way. CJ Stroud made a lot of those plays happen, but still, Joe Mixon underperformed his projection, even though it feels like he was all over that game. Rushed for 106 yards. Just the fantasy output wasn't there. 106 yards and a touchdown. So unfortunately, rushing for over 100 and scoring a touchdown is under his projection, which is crazy. I'm still going to stand behind Aiden Good winning this one. But he's going to need some big weeks from Jamar Chase and Gibbs again. So that is all I have to say about that one. Then the last matchup, ... DND versus Reeds in the Wind. Completely honest, I've got ... DND. I think he has a chance to, have a huge upset here, even though Nate's team is injured. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Bo Nix against a good Baltimore team, even though the defense sucks. The Baltimore defense sucks. Don't make any mistake about that, but I just think maybe they'll disguise coverages better in some kind of way to confuse Bo Nix, and maybe he throws his way into some turnovers. Or I just can't imagine Denver staying in a game with Baltimore, but maybe I'm just biased against rookie quarterbacks there. And it sucks that Breece Hall had a midnight last night. Austin is looking like he made the right move in trading for Jonathan Taylor there. I forgot the other details of that trade, but I hear Austin talk about it pretty often, so definitely something to look at there. We are going to do a trade grades episode after the trade deadline, sometime after the trade deadline. We want to go back and grade all of the trades that were made in fantasy this season for each team. So we were thinking of making that like a full-length episode in itself, and maybe not do a week recap after. I don't know. It would be hard to spend over 3 hours doing a fantasy football pod, but let us know what you guys want in terms of that. Would you want something quick, or do you want a whole episode that talks about it, goes into week by week, trades, and the players week by week? So let me know. Let us know. But what was I even talking about? Oh, Garrett upset Nathan this week. That's my upset this week. Even though Devon A-Chain is probably going to go off, as well as Bo Nix, and I bet Tyrone Tracy even has a great day. But give me Garrett. And guys, I think that's all I got. I've honestly stretched this episode longer than it could have been. If I'm talking too slow, you can put it on like 1.5 speed or something. But otherwise, this is all I've got for you this week. So thank you guys for watching. No outro music yet. I don't know. Is Austin going to put that in? Not sure. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, guys. I will see you in the next one, hopefully with Nathan and Austin at my side. Pretty soon we'll have the Lemoyne episode coming when Lemoyne plays Bonas. We'll have Garrett here at least, hopefully. But other than that, I will see you fellas later. Peace.